right, welcome to Hot Current, one of those fantastic programs we bring you every week here on Times TV with me, Wezi Kasambala. You're probably wondering what I'm doing here. Well, I'm sitting in for my comrade, we should call him that, hey? Comrade Brian Banda, who loves to dissect issues with George Kasakula. But due to other reasons, I'm going to have to sit in for him and hold the mantle. But as always, it's going to be fiery, right, George?
Certainly.
Lots of
passionate
as always. Lots to talk about today. We are delving into the abdication of responsibility on corruption by APM. And you know, when we say APM, who are we talking about? We're talking about the President Peter Mutharika. So of course, as always, being a Friday, I am joined by George Kasakula. So thank you for joining us on Times TV and of course Times Radio, where we will be repeating this program. But we'll take a short break and we'll be right back. Welcome back indeed to Hot Current right here on Times TV with me, Wezi Kasambala, the program that lets us delve deeper and really explore and dissect some of the biggest burning issues here in Malawi. And of course, I'm always joined by the editor-in-chief of the Times Group, George Kasakula, who lets us sizzle in the studio. George,
yes.
This week, the president was present at the event where Madonna, the mega pop star, came into the country, and she opened up the first intensive care unit at Queen Elizabeth Central Hospital
for children.
Yes. Yeah, a pediatric ward.
Mercy James.
Yes, named after her daughter Mercy James.
They adopted the girl from here. That's another story.
Beautiful, lovely little girl.
People are saying it's one you see how transformed this human being is. Imagine if she was here. She was being forced to get into an area. No, but that's what they're doing.
She's 11 years old.
That's what they're doing in the rural in the villages. They're marrying kids.
Yeah, so good. It's right.
It's not right. That's what I'm saying. Madonna has saved a human being, because by now I just don't know what she could have been. What that girl could have been. Yeah. So those that were saying, "Oh, man, I think they should be ashamed."
Absolutely.
Very much ashamed.
No. Is the fact that President Mutharika was there in attendance.
Yes.
But I suppose he went off on a tangent.
Yes.
And he started talking about corruption.
Yes. He was addressing cadets and the women, DPP women, were a little bit outside the hospital. So he addressed
the same women who caused us problems with BNC.
So he addressed them as he was going out. One thing that struck me during that address was he was talking about corruption. There's a narrative in government these days. It's not just the president, even his ministers. I remember, I think Honorable Saka said the same thing. I think it was in Mangochi. Honorable Kasaira, I think he attended
very recently,
the Independence Day celebration for the Americans, where the ambassador Virginia Palmer was talking about corruption, how various levels of accountability are not being accountable for the action that they're doing, thereby spending our taxpayers' money badly. So he was saying, no, corruption is not a one-man thing. It's not just the president. It's all of us. You, the media, the people, the what. And
so then the president with those remarks. Why is that a problem? What are the issues?
The problem is that it's a bad narrative.
Why?
It's the abdication of responsibility. The thing that you said. Look, are you President Wezi?
No.
I'm not president either.
Not yet.
No, not yet.
Not yet.
Fine. If you choose to say that, I'm not president. I have no executive powers. I'm nothing. I'm a nobody.
Yeah, come on, George.
So how am I going to help in the fight of corruption?
Komano, does it not hold merit for a whole head of state to stand there and say Aliese should have a moral ethic, moral responsibility?
It doesn't.
It starts with the little things, George. That's all corruption.
Listen, Wes. It doesn't. It doesn't. Absolutely, it doesn't. The reason why it doesn't, I'm not saying to say we should be corrupt and then expect him to solve it.
Yes.
Or that the moral fabric of the nation should be a bad one. Should be corroded. No. Actually, it's the other way around. But they are saying it in bad faith. They're not saying it in good faith. They themselves haven't done anything to stop corruption. So when they do something to stop corruption, when we say that we have a president that acts on people that are corrupt, that does the right thing, that reforms the law, just like they promised in their own manifesto, then will now go to the other argument of saying the president is doing this. The president is arresting everybody, even in his own cabinet, who is doing corruption.
Kudantas, what do you want? You want him to lead by example first.
That's the point. So at the moment, you cannot be even talking about that. It's purely abdication of responsibility. Well, he must act on the things that are needed to stop corruption in this country, and he knows them.
Okay, corruption, what are the issues, the main issues when we talk about corruption? Let's put it into context. Yes. Donors, for example.
Yes.
Donors are constantly talking about how they're going to pull the plug one of these days because corruption is rampant, it's rife.
In fact,
Virginia Palmer very recently
yes.
Talked about how there's no accountability in Malawi.
Yes.
What is your problem with the donors in relation to corruption?
I have no problem with the donors because the donors are just saying what they are saying, that we are a corrupt nation, that don't have any sense of, because look, when you have 30% or 40% of your national income corroded, spent or stolen, then are you surprised that you're not developed?
But you're saying that politicians tend to only comment when the donors say something. That's when they sort of wade in.
Yes, correct. And normally, what they talk about is what I've just told you. That the narrative is, it's for all of us. That's senseless. Honestly, that's laughable. And in fact, pathetic. But there's a reason why they're saying those things. It's because they want to run away from the issues. Yes.
So are you honestly sitting here, George, and saying until the president takes a concerted effort, makes a concerted effort to actually fully address corruption and lead by example, in the meantime, we shouldn't listen to what he's saying about corruption?
We should not. The way as a citizen.
He shouldn't preach about corruption.
No, he should preach.
You want him to practice what he preaches.
Exactly. And for him, it's more than just preaching. It's more than saying, like abusa aulalika, samadani. It's more than that, because he has the powers of the state to punish those that are engaged in corruption. The issue is punishment. We know the president has done enough to really lead and show that he's against the vice.
Can you give examples here to someone going and speculate? Who would you have expected to be punished, for example, at this stage?
The one that comes automatically is there have been so many. Why are you laughing? I'm about to. They were Let's take the media, for example. The media, some of it are even a week.
Yes, but in the same breath, are you going to expect the president to micromanage every little corruption scandal?
Not at all.
Obviously, you're talking about the big fish.
Not
Who are the big fish you expect?
Not at all. I don't expect the president to micromanage this or to be director of the anti-corruption bureau. No. But I expect the president to lead, to show the way, to free SCB, to reform it. SCB tinaipanga form 1995. Why is it that corruption in fact it's getting worse? Every other record that comes, or ATI and Dandani, corruption.
Because he still holds the power to appoint the heads of those departments.
That's the point.
So would he lead? What kind of leading is he going to do?
That's the point.
Unless he relinquishes those powers.
That's what I'm talking about. For example, and here's the thing. Look, I've read the DPP manifesto.
Yes.
We have it in the library. It's a nice building, it's a nice book, well bound, nicely done, glossy. In that manifesto, 2014 manifesto DPP, the president and his party promised Malawians that they are going to free ACB. How? By making sure that he can appoint the director general of ACB, something that he does now. Then the director general is approved by parliament, which is a standard procedure. So I have no problems there. Where I have a problem is the security, the security of the tenure of the director of anti-corruption.
Okay, meaning?
He can be fired by the president.
Okay, and so he hasn't been.
He reports to the president.
Yes.
Okay. He reports to the president.
Right.
He shouldn't be reporting to the president. He should be reporting to himself and parliament. Yearly reports.
But you and I both know the only way that's going to work is if he loses those executive powers to do that.
No, but that's what they promised, and that's what they promised. There are other public officers whose arrangement is exactly the same that I'm talking about. For example, this the director of public declarations, he doesn't report to the president, so he can ask him to say, you are saying 8 million ziri kuti. You are saying you have some money in some teacher circle who US. Can we go and check that money? Because he knows this guy can't fire me. He can check the money Mamilsas Kandani freely. That's the kind of thing that I'm looking. And it's something that the DPP promised in their own manifesto.
It did, but unfortunately the constitutional framework that we have now can't do anything about it to make him actually relinquish the powers to appoint these people. Until then, what do we do?
So we come back to say he shouldn't be talking about us saying, this thing is for all of us. It's not for all of us. It's him who can do it or not do it, and he's not doing it. That's my point. That this is hypocrisy that is displaying, which is wrong. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So let's go into the hypocrisy, because you clearly said he mentioned it for the umpteenth time at the Mercy James Mercy James ward rather, or wing at Queen Elizabeth Central Hospital. He said it all again, and you're not happy that he said that. But why is it so hypocritical?
Because he's the one who has got the power. Look, for example, when the economy is doing well, who gets the credit? These days, the vibe from government is that we are fine, we are good.
Yeah.
The figures are improving.
You say that as though you're a cynic, as though you don't believe that.
I'm a cynic. Naturally, I'm a cynic.
Why are you cynical? Are we not? Is the economy not sort of stabilizing at this moment? Is it not?
What are the signs of the economy stabilizing? Inflation and what have you?
Who meaning borrowing capacity has now been increased.
Who concocts those things? And why are they happening now? We know the reason why they're happening now. We have a good harvest. Is it because somebody is in control? I don't think so. So that's where my cynicism comes from.
Are you ever going to give credit for anything? For anything?
Anyway, the example Wezi I was giving was that when the economy is showing signs of recovering, he gets the credit. You see, the Peter Mutharika, government. When IMF has snooped in our files, Reserve Bank, of Finance, Chanchani, and then they go back to Washington, they make a declaration after sitting. They make a declaration. Things are okay in Malawi. We are going to continue with our program. It is on track. Who gets the credit? They are all over the place telling us. What the point I'm driving home is that it can't be because the corruption is bad. It's all of us. But when things are,
he shouldn't try and have his cake and eat it too.
Exactly.
What is it?
Exactly. It's hypocrisy. It's hypocrisy. It's cheating. He is the president.
Remember he actually fixed it. That's how he got the
degree in Ethiopia. Exactly.
I've managed to address the issue of power cuts.
Yeah, power cuts. Please, can you give me that?
And you were very disgruntled when that happened.
It was not true. Actually, the very same day that he was landing in Ilongwe, there was a blackout. People told me that exactly, that's the point. So he cannot be picky and choosy. Malawi, we were responsible. No, it's just one person that has executive powers in this country, and it's Peter Mutharika. The rest of us don't have executive powers. Inayo nidibem have yoringa alamule akondowe kuda akondowe pakwakuti kuvuda ne pasani report kapena akondowe kodi chakachino mwapanga makesa ngati ya corruption nangana amene mwapanga convict anthu. I have no powers. And Mr. Kondowe will simply laugh at me if he's in a good mood. If he's in a bad mood, he's going to tell me off. That who do you think you are?
You still have not mentioned the people who you think should have been dealt with, because I get the impression
George Kasakula. If you want to name
George Kasakula,
a commission of inquiry. What did the commission of inquiry say? What did the commission? His own commission. What did it say? It said this one behaved in the most inappropriate manner, and he must be investigated. Where are we with that investigation? Well, so we talk about facts.
And ultimately, so even if they do have this commission of inquiry, ultimately, what do you want to happen to George Kasakula?
What? Court? I mean, if George Kasakula is suspected of something,
you want him to go to prison.
Well, if the court says, if the court finds him guilty, yes, you commit a criminal offense, you go to prison. Well, you go before the law. If you commit something who is criminal, they will lock you up.
Imagine that.
Yes, imagine they lock you up. So they tell us that you go before the law. If one has violated the law, they must be arrested. Yes.
All right. So that's why you think it's hypocritical for the president, because when it comes to the good things,
yes,
he loves to take the credit.
Aha.
And your suggestion
it's
is
my
the narrative
government.
is that it's my government.
It's
yes.
my government. My government is doing well. IMF is doing this. My government has done marep. Corruption.
George Kasakula.
Even him.
Having said that,
even him. Before you even go to the next thing. Even him, when is he castigating? He's the enemy number one.
Yes.
Joyce Banda. Kashigate Joyce Banda. Someone nagudi tose tinali kashigate skumi kabile. First tinali go ya Joyce Banda. Tinali go to. We are in this country. Koma someone nagudi
just one person.
It's the president. It's the president, the one who presided over that period. Although she might not be, she hasn't been even taken to court, charge, but because she was president,
yes,
that's when Joyce Banda, and he himself goes on the podium talking about Joyce Banda, how corrupt she was, because of she was in charge of government during that time. Yes.
In other words, you're saying he should eat his words.
Yes.
No, don't they all do this, George? Is this really unique to Peter Mutharika?
It is wrong.
Isn't it always a case of Malawi?
There it's better. It's better just to keep quiet. To say sinigamba chito si cha corruption. Chifuka, it's irritating. If you're out there, we know how bad things are out here. We know how bad things are. We know what is happening in these parastatals.
Yes.
Every day we are writing stories. We huku anapanga orders into 5 billion zopanda chito department hezo sama zifuna zambiri zamitumava every day. Now here is someone saying it's not just me when he has the executive powers to stop it.
He's not talking about corruption.
No.
The real issues. That's what we always say.
We want to talk and practice. Bomalanga, because the narrative is that tiwesetsa kulimba nandika tangale. But where are the results? Where are the results? That shows ndisi mwesetsa. So kulibino kwesetsa kweni. Yes.
George Kasakula, if you're just joining us, you're watching Hot Current right here on Times TV with me, Wezi Kasambala. We're talking about the president's abdication of responsibility, as told by George Kasakula, in relation to corruption. We're not very happy with the fact that just very recently he was talking about corruption being everybody's responsibility. I thought there was actually a little bit of sense in that, but George says no, it's outrageous because he is the head of state. He's the one who should be making those tough decisions to fire and deal with people who are corrupt, like George Kasakula. You gave the example there. But we'll be right back after this break.
Good. Yes,
all right, welcome back to Hot Current on Times TV with me, Wezi Kasambala. So usually George and I rant on radio, right? But we thought we'd bring our rant to TV.
Well, why not? Why not? It's good.
In honor of my comrade Brian Banda.
It's good.
So it's not, now you can actually see us as we rant.
Yeah.
Hopefully we don't actually end up in a fight.
No, we won't. It can't happen. The fight would have taken place at some point, but never did.
A long time ago, right? All right. But if you're just tuning in, we're talking about...
It can never happen.
No, it will never happen. We're talking about corruption in relation to the president's remarks very recently at Queen Elizabeth Central Hospital when Madonna was opening the pediatric ward, where the president more or less suggested, in fact, it was quite explicit. He said corruption is everybody's responsibility, not just politicians, not just government. And George has taken issue with that and said, hang on a minute, no, it's not. Why should it only be everyone's responsibility when it's negative publicity? When it's the good things, when you're dealing with the ESCOM and blackouts, however, when it's corruption, it was Joyce Banda.
When it's World Bank saying you are doing great, the economy is great, it's my government. When it's like Magesi Midzi, it's my government. The president is getting credit for that.
This pediatric ward, that's a good idea. Don't you reckon would he DBB minute?
Oh yeah, sure.
This was under the DPP regime.
Under the DPP regime. And the mistake that Joyce Banda did was that she was playing difficult with Madonna. Remember and now they are back.
So they're going to just run in there and take the credit.
Yes. After all, you chased Madonna. We brought her back. Look what she has done, you know. So
look at our powers.
Look at our powers. We are good. Positive things. But when it comes to corruption, no, it's all of us. No, it's not just me. It's all of us. No, Mr. President, you can't do that. That's hypocritical. No.
All right, George. So we've talked about the issues and we've understood why you feel it's hypocritical. But what is the heart of the matter here?
The heart of the matter is something that we've already touched on in ways.
Yes.
The heart of the matter is that the only person who can make a difference, and he better know this, the president. He is the only person that can make a difference in anything in this country, including the fight of corruption. And then different house. Then different house are blessed danga. Kuti ngate nama kuna mizani kuti ya nitose chaja nibodza hakuna mizani. The truth of the matter is he is the only one that has executive powers to make things happen. And if things don't happen, it's because of him. So it cannot be you, me, or Chani, Samabanga Jonchu. There is one leader and one leader only. At the moment, 2014, 2019, it is Peter Mutharika. Palibe so winner. Corruption is not me, it's him. He must understand this.
So are you suggesting that others cheat him and
the president? The president is lied to a lot.
You mean to tell me the real issues? Does it need people to actually
Dawes came here and say, do you know what a president there the state house? Tima chitopita kokauza zinthu. Ndem sama blame muziblame if ameti mauza zinthu.
He said that outright.
Yes, he said that. The point he was making was that sometimes, of course you are right. Muntu as a leader. Muntu as a leader.
Sure.
Usamango vachilichonse. Ngati kuti ulibe makutu ako, ulibe maso ako, ukozopita ukaona.
Yes. That's my point.
Kukwinzi kuli bwino pamene ukwinza anthu agona basi. Agona basi pa patient awulira
nunu. Nemuuza kuti munthu anganamize pankhani imeneyo.
Amanamiza. Amauza kuti president muzina kuti ayi, muzina kuti corruption intose. Therefore, corruption is everywhere. Therefore, it's the responsibility of all of us to stop it. No, it's his responsibility because he has the powers. He can make things happen. He in challenge ways kuti atafuna president. George Kasakula itakuta corruption mo. Prosecute them. By the end of
what is the problem?
The problem is that he wants to protect his friends. It's his friends that he wants to protect. He wants the political ndale basi afika body. You know, he is not someone that can rise above everything and do the right thing for Malawi. Without looking at where's Nzanga or where's Aruba Nzanga and then ndikamangisa mawaza na kutishani. That's the kind of thing that is making Malawi poor until today.
So who is it who has the power to actually make a change, to push for our leaders to be different? I say this all the time. Is it parliamentarians?
No.
Who is it?
No. It's
2019.
Look, Wes. When we say mtsogoleni mziko matters, it is that. It's not even. Then we are damned. Our fate is sealed. Yes. Tipulika always be poor. Akaruka my index development in houses in Fosauka. Nothing is happening. Midzimu quality of life is pathetic. And how gonna they don't know the meaning of 3 meals a day or 4 meals a day like you always get. They don't know anything of that sort. They even like mchere when we knew. So we will continue like that and that's how Banga develop.
In fact,
yes, of course. You are right. Yes, it's a government.
No, but on a serious note, George, all I'm saying is you and I talk about this on radio.
Yes.
You talk about it with Brian every week.
Yes.
The corruption is there. The poor leadership, substandard leadership is there. But then what? So what? We can't do anything until 2019.
Maybe we can pray. Since zikafika body sono magunda koma simuzochita. Maybe we can pray kuti wamwamba mambayo azatithandiza tsikulina tizakhala ndi mtsogoleri amene timati game changer
divine intervention
osintha zinthu because this country always needs someone who's going to rise up and say
Yes.
enough is enough guys amene muzitenga ndalama za anthu osauka nkumadya nkumatenga ngati zanu kuseri kumapangana kachani macontract kumapanga inflate kachani basopo ndi kumangani andi zikachitika osayang'ana kuti awanda akasakula awandi mayi Wezi Kasambala ayi inu mwaba
and you third in line,
yes
fourth in line,
second in line achimwene mwaba the law must take its course and as this happening chokani cabinet mwanga look how he behaved on Chaponda, how the country fought just to see Chaponda out of cabinet.
But eventually he took action.
Eventually. But what did he take for the country?
Slowly but surely.
Yeah, but what did he take for the country? Did he have to take Wilipagana akampezeni ndalama zambiri? Akampezeni ndalama zambiri
Yes. We also have a responsibility to bear pressure on these individuals, on him as a leader.
But really,
if we eventually stood up and said, you know what, enough is enough, we will no longer be lauding you and praising you until you actually make a difference. That could make a difference.
But Wes, really, should we be fighting for something that is right?
Yes. Many to get whatever they need. You fight.
Okay.
Well, I'm not encouraging people taking to the streets peacefully. Yes.
Yeah, of course.
But you do those things.
It's provided for in the constitution. You can go to the street. You're not breaking the law.
So what's stopping you from doing that? For example,
doing what?
Taking to the streets.
Do what?
Rallying people.
Well, the good thing about
galvanizing support.
The good thing about me is that at least I've a platform. Times group has given a platform to talk. So maybe that's my contribution. I don't have to walk. I'm talking about the issues here, and I'm imparting them on others.
Yeah.
Yes.
What I'm saying is the crux of the matter is we have the power, we have the voice to be able to apply pressure for things to change.
Yes.
Don't you think so?
It must be in our own hands.
Because otherwise, men wouldn't.
Because you are right.
It won't change.
No citizen participation. Certainly,
Yes.
as citizens, we must demand better things.
Yes.
Demand better leadership.
We can no longer be apathetic.
No.
That's my point.
No. We cannot say apangandi yao, apangandi abile maya or atrapezi or andani.
So one mukanga abanga believe abile maya bwanchi.
Na mina maenda na bile maya. Amaenda oka.
Banoba ulimba yandinkani ya ujeni ya mazi ku.
Akuti mazaja achitike. Ndedu mafuso osolo mfuno na kuti feti si olankhula. Mfuno tseka paka mwantu.
Leso nadabwa. Leso nadabwa. Akuti people are going to suffer. We need to understand people are going to suffer.
Now that's scary.
So that's also worrying because the reason why that was under investigation was the how that procurement process was going anyway.
Exactly.
No,
citizens must speak. Citizens must speak. It's by speaking that we're going to get the best. We must ask questions, demand transparency and accountability at anything. At anything, you shouldn't say is he wrong or wrong. Yes, we must demand transparency and accountability because it's our country. At the end of the day, we are the ones suffering. You're just telling me, Mutharika, it's true.
Hey.
Yes. People are suffering. And I'm curious. When they went to Queens on Tuesday, did they go to the wards? They did. I think they did.
The beautiful, Mercy James ward.
There you go. So we have to demand the best from our leaders all the time, citizen participation, and it's allowed in the
and
constitution.
also not just demand. You know what? It starts grassroots level, and by grassroots level, what I'm referring to is the vote.
Yes.
The vote.
Yes.
I always say this. Sometimes we have only ourselves to blame because of the people we put in these positions. So, 2019,
the problem
we'll be crying again.
The problem was that people don't think about the ability of a person, who he is. Is he competent? Can he run things? Does he have the right experience? We don't think about that. What do we think? Ndani ndipo ni wachibani chanji. Ndi watu. That's the tragedy. That's the tragedy. So there we go.
No.
Not at all. Why would I do that? Why would I do that? When they're not competent, and then I vote them because you know what? No, it can't happen. Impossible, never. Yes.
So, why do you feel? Having said all this, we've talked about how Malawians are the ones who should have a voice. And the president is insisting with DIE, corruption is everybody's responsibility. But you feel we can't be cheated.
No, we cannot. The reason why the president is wasting his time by saying it should be the responsibility of all of us is because Malawi akuona alini masu alini makutu akuona what is happening. They know where or kumfusa muntu pa street uzoti kodino tachula nkoni kumodzi kumene kuli ziphuphu achula and chances that he's going to get it right kwakuti kuli ziphuphu kwakuti sana pange chakuti anamanga sana mange chakuti so he's wasting his time by thinking that we can buy that argument of saying, oh, it's not just the president. No, it is him. It is him alone that can solve this problem. Just like he's pivotal in anything about our lives. He takes decisions every day about us. Even corruption, it is him. Because he has executive powers. So we can be cheated. It can never happen. We can be cheated. Yes.
And I think you also highlighted issues like, for example, Nkania George Kasakula.
Yes.
As one outstanding issue. We're not all living under a rock. We can clearly see what's going on.
Kwescom,
we know.
Another example, Kwescom, but you have a parastatal, of course not a parastatal, it's a limited company where government is so shareholder. But you have a situation where goods worth 5 billion were procured. One enaga kwisa chilo zinduzo my heads of department. In a normal setup, heads of department should know what they need in their departments to do their job. In this case, we anagula zindu kwina zodi sakuzifuna
komasa amene mabanga authorize mezuzo ni ndani
CEO,
because even heads of CEO chief operating officer,
well samaziwa a chief executive officer kaona na operating officer
how zindu za 5 billion kwaja sungadziwe how
that's the funny part. And you know what they did?
And not even funny, haha.
You know what they did? They asked for an opinion from a legal firm, Kapale and Kapale lawyers.
An opinion on what?
He told them whether the contracts are valid, despite the fact that they were not signed for by the chief executive officer. Two, whether okay, so validity.
Yes.
Meaning, can we still process them? Can we still pay and pay for those things that were supplied? The lawyers have told them, yes. So we're
going to pay for things which were unnecessary.
Yes.
So we've literally almost 5 billion down the drain effectively.
Yes, for something that is not even necessary.
Who was to blame?
It's a system. It's a system. I mean,
but how do heads of state just authorize such huge payments for their departments without somebody actually, having alarm bells going off?
The procurement.
Yes.
It was not even heads of but it was the procurement doing contracts. Kuseri konko basi umango manga contract yo. Now, when you see such things, of course, when you see such things, when you have a president who would say, what is happening there? What is happening there?
And clearly,
yes. You are in charge. You know, this is wrong. You can't be wasting resources like that. Company offering economy is hinged on ESCOM.
In fact, George, I think I don't think I'd be going amiss by saying when these things are not happening, when he's not investigating those things, should there not be punitive measures on him as a director general of the ACB?
You can only do those.
You're not doing your job.
You can only do those punitive measures. Wabamwambayo is instituting those punitive measures.
That's what I mean.
Uyumwana walakwa ndiye umugunduza. Iwe warani kote chuchitika chani. Then unotosa kupanga ndio mali discipline so kupanga zimene kufuta. So it's down.
But we've never seen that happen.
No, not to my knowledge. Not to my knowledge. Kwe dielo somebody said inenakatanga cheke kwe dielo. Of course ndamatake 1.3 million. Anani kwe dielo kundalama ine. Komene sinusizwa chichos. I didn't supply anything.
Yes,
I didn't supply anything. The only thing I did is that I worked for the boss of Dielo. Koma ndinambana nacho also company wao. Koma bali kandrama kamene nakatenga koti nakatenga ku parastatal ye Dielo. Nobody is saying anything about that.
That's tantamount to theft. In fact it is theft. It is theft.
It is ways. It is. Here is someone akunena kuti ine police nalipidwa zinzoli ine ndikuopa kuti mawa pa mawa muzani manga. Kuti nakatenga
anakhulupirika. Anavanga discipline.
Ndikuopa kuti mawa muzandi kwenya pa muzi pano. Muzani manga ine zofuna mangidwa. Ndi ana ine. Uko ananilembera cheke uko cha 1.3 billion. In a sina bank supply. Nobody is listening to him. In fact anakapanga even Wezi anapita ukaona kuti inetu ndikuti nakatenga cheke uko choti nesina pange supply George iwo wakuti napanga supply ndiko mesina pange supply.
No, but on a serious note, George, this is what I'm saying. The list goes on. We have a plethora of examples of malpractice, bordering on corruption, on bordering on theft.
Exactly.
Why is it we have leadership that really just fails to say, look, you are in the ACB, do your job?
Because we have laid back leadership. We have leadership that is not up to the task.
But how do we have an ACB that can hold its head high when these things are going on?
The ACB works within a system.
Where is their credibility?
The ACB works within a system. The ACB, you talked about Indiana, just Indiana. So people there are working within a system. They know the limit of their powers, where it starts, where it ends. A good leader, a good shaker should have done what they promised Malawians in their manifesto. If they could have done that, by now ACB could have had teeth. ACB lacks, in fairness to ACB, they are very, very patriotic men and women working for ACB. They are limited. They are limited. They know where their power starts and where it stops. Yes, where it ends. Beyond that, they have no power. It's up to the system.
What is the point of the ACB? Where is its credibility when it's effectively redundant from what you're saying?
Yes, certainly.
It's redundant.
We do need.
We need it, but it's redundant.
We do need the ACB certainly,
yes,
but not in the form that it is. And everybody realizes that. Even you are DP. That's why they put it in their manifesto. And by the way, you know what happened in Parliament? What happened in Parliament? That an MCB MP brought a bill to Parliament doing exactly what the ACB, what the DPP promised in their manifesto. Do you know what the DPP did? They shut down the bill. And the president, soon after that, I remember clearly, it was the weekend.
Nothing goes past you.
I'm going Pasula bill wiki. On the weekend, the president went on the run and said, Amavuna and Random have. Alepera. I was shocked. This man, he promised in his own manifesto. It's there, black and white. It's there in black and white.
Come on, George. I think when you
what point is it?
When you give analogies like that, clearly where we have a head of state who's effectively celebrating the fact that we're failing to remove powers from him, even though the state of our country is diabolic at the moment.
Even though he promised, they promised Malawians, this is the way to go. If you want to have an effective anti-corruption fight, then it must start with having a strong and independent ACB. Then they renegade.
And there the point I'm trying to make is, it's a lost cause.
And he was laughing at us. It
seems like it's a lost cause.
It is.
Is it really going to make a difference?
It doesn't. No difference. Panoba, they're just playing PR. But upanga conference they call this Kenyan orator. They call this Kenyan orator, and the orator tells them the same things that we've already told them. What do you know? They even made the speaker, Richard Sawyer, to speak during the closing ceremony when the president was there. He told the president in the face, as long as SCB is in your armpit, nothing will happen. If tinapanga ku parliament uku tilini muntu uyu tukula, director of public declarations, is independent. He does his job. Let's do the same. Let the director not report to one person. Hold his faith. Let him report to parliament, because it's many of us. Similar executive powers. The minister of Justice, Mr. Samuel Domino, answered there and then. You cannot take away executive powers. It has got its own problems. Blah blah blah. I just laughed.
Now, if the whole minister of Justice,
I said, it's no many promise. You can take away executive. Why did you promise in your manifesto if you knew what is bad? Why are you knowing that today? They are cheats. They are cheating Malawians. We have been cheated. We are promised it. By the DPP, they cheated us. 100% so many. Broad daylight.
We're looking very stupid, eh?
Of course. We're looking stupid.
Right.
Somebody can promise us. It's possible somebody voted for the DPP because of that promise.
At the end of the day, it's also a question of how we exercise our right to vote.
Yes.
The decisions we make at the polling booth
Yes.
Have wide-reaching ramifications, and this is what we're dealing with today. You and I
Exactly. Maybe the break is
All right, if you're just joining us, you're watching Hot Current with me, Wezi Kasambala, and of course, Times Group Editor-in-Chief George Kasakula, and we're talking about corruption in relation to APM's very recent comments about how corruption should really be addressed by every member of this country, every citizen, every Malawian has a responsibility. It should be really the leaders who should lead by example, and George says, practice what you preach. Don't just talk the talk, walk the walk. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back to Hot Current on Times TV with me, Wezi Kasambala, and of course, Times Group Editor-in-Chief George Kasakula. Today, we were talking about corruption and APM's comments, or the president's comments on corruption being everybody's responsibility. He says we shouldn't just think government is going to solve the problem and wave a magic wand and solve all the issues. He says everybody has a moral responsibility, which I initially agreed with, but George shut me down and said, no. It's everybody's responsibility.
You don't have executive powers. You don't have executive powers.
But I have the executive power to have a moral compass. Surely.
Well,
so do you.
As an individual, yes. But certainly if you're going to make things happen on national scale, it's not you. Can I make a difference on national scale? Apart from what I'm doing here.
I would argue that you probably do.
But I can't take decisions. I can't take decisions to say, Parliament, here's the bill. Kambiranani, this is how SB is going to work. The director is independent. He will report to Parliament. The president should appoint him, confirmed by Parliament, but he report to Parliament. He can't make that. But if that thing is just made, it will make a huge difference to the whole, fight against corruption.
So we've talked about the issues, what you feel the issues are, the fact that you find the president hypocritical in the sense that when it's the good things, that he takes the credit.
Yes,
it's all about his government.
Yes, it's my government, as he brought it to rural areas.
Yeah, but when it comes to the rot, then the rot is somehow then pushed on to everybody else.
Where all of us must be responsible. No.
And you've talked about how we also have an ACB, which really isn't really effective because the president still has his thumb on it.
Yes. That's the point.
All right.
That's the point.
And you've also talked about how Malawians cannot be cheated. We will not be cheated, but what is now the conclusion? What's your conclusion? What is the way forward on corruption? We talk about it every day till we're blue in the face, George.
The president has lost the debate on corruption. That's the take-home message that I want him to take. He has lost the debate.
What about this debate?
Yes, the debate of what?
Is it a debate?
Yes, it's a debate.
Debate means you have two equally sized up opponents.
Yes, the debate is that how best the national debate is how best can we fight corruption. And what the narrative that the president is advancing is wrong. Nyosa Tandiza is just running off from responsibility, and day by day he's losing the debate. He's losing the debate, and therefore we know.
But was he ever really in it?
Well,
did he ever really get his gloves on?
Well, then why is it that every day he's talking about?
Because it seems like people like you have had your gloves on from the outset. Someone a blue corner. Has the blue corner ever had its gloves on?
I hope it had.
Did he bring his dancing shoes to the party on this issue?
No, he didn't. He hasn't. Oh, he's just.
So
fluffing.
You've been dancing alone.
We've been dancing alone. He's fluffing. He's still fluffing. I don't think he has come to the party. He hasn't come to the party.
Because I think, correct me if I'm wrong,
He
George,
did come to the party 2014 when he was promising his manifesto that this is the way how to fight corruption.
If you correct me if I'm wrong, but it's to date since he became president. Have we ever really had profound sentiments from the president to suggest that he actually has corruption under control?
No, I don't think so. It's just this fluffing around. He knows it's happening. He knows it's getting worse. But to really got hold of it and say, let's stop it by putting in place right things, he hasn't done it.
Conclusion,
he has lost the debate.
Bas.
Yes.
So if he's lost the debate, then what you need?
We Malawians,
what are we doing?
We Malawians, we can't buy this argument. Certainly we can't buy it. At the end of the day, when everything is said and done, I think our fate is sealed and delivered.
You can take a horse to water, but you can't make it.
We just have to pray to God. Elections are coming in 2019. So you hope it gives us a chance to have a look at the whole system, maybe try to reboot it. And I hope when I say that, I'm speaking on behalf of many Malawians. Because maybe there's some Malawians that still believe in the president that he's doing that thing.
Who still support him, who still throng to the stadiums
For selfish reasons.
At the expense of poor children.
For selfish reasons. Because when you look
yes,
yes, for selfish reasons. Because when you look at our situation in Malawi, maybe it's the question of ambition. We have different ambitions. Some people are contented with the way we are, poor.
The status quo.
Yes, status quo, poor, underdeveloped, mediocre leadership. Zosathandiza kumudzi umphawi, misewu yoipa, ziparamlima mkwala, anaphuza pepa simantengo. Maybe some people are satisfied with that sort of thing. Adipasa Madonna. Koma ndiyokwana. Do we have to wait for Madonnas to come and give us those things? We need kwinaku amapanga okha. Kwinaku sikubwera IMF umaza sokonza mafailo awo tatsekula kwa governor kuti muziwenda bwanji apa ino kodi sabanga chocho kera kwapita ku Washington.
George,
yes.
Before we go, we've run out of time. Come on, we've seen little pockets of inspiration in terms of corruption. Very recently we saw the Reserve Bank newly appointed governor Daito Kabambe talking about how he's going to be really strict when it comes to corruption.
Words.
We can see little hints up on the apple.
No, it's just platonic. It's about the words.
Platonic. It's not an intense love affair with corruption.
The real thing that must happen is there has to be reform. Reform of the SCB, reform of the systems. Then you give them a proper funding and finances. Those are things that are going to make a difference. Not people, officials speaking. They have done that. Nothing has changed. They have done that. Don't believe in the words that they are saying and believe in them. Please, you're believing about your own peril. You shouldn't. Okay, fine. Come at least we're talking about the right things. We're pinpointing. We are pinpointing the right things. As long as you don't reform ACB, nothing can happen. So a leader who's going to be brave and say, let's reform ACB, is the leader that will say, Uyu, na mina banga fight corruption.
reforming his constitutional executive powers.
Yes,
it can't just be about the ACB, George.
Yes, this reform we are talking about. This executive power of
manifesto.
Exactly. That's what we are talking about. Yes.
All right. Thank you so much, George Kasakula. As always, I'm afraid we have run out of time. Hot Current will, of course, be back next week, same time, same place. But from me, Wezi Kasambala, we hope you enjoyed this week's edition of Hot Current. We're going to have to say goodbye. Bye-bye.